going on, Jerome's? So there's always this concept with the NFL draft of drafting for need or BPA, best player available. Now, a lot of the drafts we go in is like, oh, so the Vikings need this, this, and this, and we try to sync up top players whenever the Vikings do draft at positions of need. So sometimes you can try to get the best of both worlds, but also, I mean, it could just be a spot too where drafting for need keeps you drafting for need because you're always just chasing players that aren't at the top of your draft. It's almost like you're not even trusting your board. But also, BPA has to have a caveat because otherwise you end up with 53 on the roster of all right tackles. That's what happens, man. So we're going to fire up a mock draft. Again, exercises for entertainment purposes only, as well as I know people are getting fatigued about mock drafts, except this is always so freaking interesting to me. It just really is. So I'm just a nerd, and I understand, like, don't want to watch the video, don't watch the video, right? So there we go. So we're going to stick and pick on all of our selections, and we're just going to take what is perceived as the best player, regardless of position, regardless of need. And if at the end of the day the Vikings still have other needs, there's still a little bit of free agency left. All right, so up at the top of the draft, at 11. So Johnny Newton, again, this is Pro Football Focus's big board, and all big boards can be different. Ours is different than the teams, is different than the whatever, blah, blah, blah. So Johnny Newton, Cooper DeJean, Quinton Mitchell, Latu, Talisa Fuaga, etc. So what is kind of nice is that, like, all of these guys sync up with what the Vikings need. And like we said, sometimes the synergy is there. Now, yes, the quarterback tax is legit. The quarterback tax is real, and to a degree, that supersedes everything. But I feel like with Sam Darnold in place, the Vikings don't necessarily have to mortgage the future and move up. They don't necessarily have to take a quarterback at 11. They don't have to. So for this purpose, what do we do now? So all these guys could be at the top of the board. I mean, Johnny Newton, Cooper is there, Quinion, Latu as well. But for us, this is going to be really unpopular, but I also don't care. So Talisa Fuaga, for me, is a mountain of a man. And also, so if you rack up and stack up the best player available, regardless of how your team is already constructed, it gives you flexibility because, yes, offensive tackle is a very deep position for the Vikings. But if you add Talisa Fuaga to that mix, all of a sudden you have flexibility. Oh, Christian Darrisaw, maybe you don't re-sign him long-term. I want to, but it does give you options if the Vikings go a different direction. Now, Fuaga, probably going to be right tackle for life, but do you switch O'Neal to the left side? Also, with Brian O'Neal starting to age out, as well as his contract getting pretty hefty, is Fuaga the heir apparent at right tackle? Fuaga can also kick inside. He does have some experience at guard. So do you just plant him in on the right side so he doesn't have to change his footwork, and then move Ed Ingram back to left guard where he played left guard at LSU? So again, just bringing in talented players does give you a ton of options. So Talisa Fuaga, welcome on in. And we are keeping tabs, like we said. Otherwise, you just end up taking 17 right tackles. So now Vikings back on the clock at 23. So Johnny Newton is up there, Cooper DeJean is up there, Nate Wiggins is up there, Kool-Aid is up there, Kool-Aid. And again, it's kind of nice because it does sync up with what the Vikings do need at all these various positions. So we are going to take Johnny Newton in this spot. So even though we weren't specifically looking to add at positions of need of offensive line and defensive tackle, and the board just broke that way, and that's what happened. And I know, well, you scroll down for Fuaga, man, but Fuaga is fantastic, and I think Fuaga certainly could go top 10. So now the Vikings in this spot. So Cedric Van Pran is there, Ray Davis, Marshawn Lloyd, who I think is a stud coming out of USC. Dwayne Carter is obviously there as well. Chris Abrams, Drain. So again, if we were sort of picking and choosing what we were doing, I mean, probably would take KAD in this spot, or Estime, or whoever. But I feel like this guy could be at the top of the board. So Dwayne Carter, I absolutely love him. I absolutely love and adore him. And yeah, you just took a penetrating defensive tackle with Johnny Newton, but guess what? Now you got two of them, and now you got Captain Heart and Hustle with Dwayne Carter. So doubling and tripling down. And again, this isn't us necessarily just like pinpointing positions of need, but sometimes things work out. And it's kind of nice. Now, so Jarvis Brownlee, a junior coming out of Louisville, a super physical cornerback, would do great things in the Flores scheme. So just picking him up at the top. And generally in these simulations, like he's gone like early in the 4th round. So getting him at 129 in the simulation is huge value. And like I said, this is pure happenstance that all these BPAs are just syncing up with what the Vikings indeed do need. So now, I mean, in the 5th round, Austin Reed from Western Kentucky does have a little bit of upside. Like, I wouldn't put him in the same strata as Pratt or Spencer Rattler, but certainly could have some upside in terms of being a backup plus. So now the Vikings, even though they didn't take that big swing at quarterback early, as well as they didn't maneuver day 2. Still got their guy. Now, do we just take Milton just for fun? But in this spot too, so Bo Braid from Maryland, Malik Mustafa is a guy that I love and adore. Now, the Vikings do have one of the deepest safety rooms in the league, but with Harrison Smith sort of aging out, Cam Beasley due for a big-time payday as well. Could the Vikings need some supplementation? Sure. And Mustafa, I just love his mentality. Like, he didn't test the greatest, and like he's not gonna blow anyone away with measurables, but just a dog, just a guy who plays tough ass football and is a person that you definitely want on your team. So Mustafa is in. 3 selections remain. I mean, Joe Milton is just there. F it. So QB. So now instead of trading up for one quarterback, now we got 2 pulls at the lotto, and Joe Milton needs a lot of work. He needs a lot of work. So now, I mean, so Dylan McMahon. So you got a second offensive lineman, another undersized but athletic center from NC State. People are just going to be really, really happy. Now Isaiah Davis, the patient power back from South Dakota State, national champions. So, I mean, even though we didn't even set out to be drafting for need, it sort of fell that way, and that's what's nice about this draft is that the Vikings do have some needs, and it did sync up with. And of course, we're gonna get high grades because we were selecting basically from the top of their draft card. So we got A. Weird. But again, Tulisa Fuaga giving you options at the tackle spot. He can be the heir for O'Neal at right tackle, or bottom line, you can kick him inside. He does have that flexibility, and you got just a stud at right guard. Johnny Newton and Dwayne Carter. So again, these weren't reaches according to the board. It's just a BPA, best player available. Now, are any of these guys going to be your true blue nose tackle? No, but they're going to be part of a platoon. They're going to blow up a gap and get after things. Dwayne Carter, probably future team captain, has that mentality. Johnny Newton is just going to be that quick penetrating 3-tech. Yes. Yes, and yes. Our Jarvis Brownlee Jr., love his physicality on the outside at corner. I think that he's a great addition to the cornerback room. Austin Reed and Joe Milton III, 2 quarterback projects. So I understand it may be better just to go up and get one, but now we got 2 pulls of this thing, and Reed and Milton, as well as Jaron Hall, can compete with everyone else behind Sam Darnold, and then Malik Mustafa. I love Mustafa's game, right? And he's going to be a special teams wonder to start. I think that he will work his way up by hook or by crook, up that safety depth, as well as, that Flores loves deploying multiple safeties and guys having versatility in the back end of that defense. Mustafa will bring that. Dylan McMahon, another undersized NC State center with anchor issues. Fully understand that, but there's a big difference between taking one of them in the 1st round like Bradbury or in the 7th round like McMahon. And then also Isaiah Davis. So it just worked out that Isaiah Davis does bring a little bit something different, a little bit of short area power to the mix with Ty Chandler as well as with Aaron Jones. So again, things work out. Things work out sometimes, and I know that people would disagree with the Fuaga pick, but I mean, people disagreed with taking Randy Moss at 98 when you had Carter and Reed. People disagreed with taking Adrian Peterson when you had Chester Taylor. People disagreed with spending a 3rd-round pick on Danielle Hunter when you had Everson and Brian Robinson. But get the best players possible in the building, and then go from there. And if you have needs, supplement in 3rd or 4th wave of free agency and go from there. take a look at the depth chart because I know that people like seeing the mock draft as well as the depth chart integration. So the Vikings, it's Sam Darnold's team. And now you do have Jaron Hall, you have Austin Reed, you have Joe Milton as developmental guys, as well as since they changed the emergency third quarterback rules, where you can have them on the practice squad, and with expanded practice squad still at 16, I think that you could keep at least 2 of them in the fold on the practice squad. Mullen's probably going to be your QB2. Isaiah Davis added to the running back mix as a 7th-round pick. I think that he does bring a little bit of power and precision. Wide receivers didn't address it. Same thing with tight end, but I think that both rooms are good to go. Offensive line-wise, so got a new right guard, Tulisa Fuaga, as well as he could be your potential right tackle. Ooh, Darisaw and Fuaga together. Now, I love me some Ryan O'Neal, but in terms of just road graders at tackles, woo, spicy, man. And I wouldn't fret about moving Ed Ingram back to left guard. In fact, here's what we'll do. So Feeney. All right, so Brandel and Ed Ingram compete for that left guard spot. There you go. Open competition. And then also Dylan McMahon as your backup center, potential center for the future. Defensively, so the big additions are Johnny Newton and Dwayne Carter. So they'll be in the mix where are they true 4-tech, 5-techs? I mean, Carter more than Newton, but Harrison Phillips remains on the nose. Jaquelin Roy, I think, can step up and be a pass-rushing nose tackle. But I think that you will see a big-time mix of Bullard, Jerry Tillery, and Jonah Williams on early downs. And I think it could be a spot where Newton and Dwayne Carter start out as rotational pieces and guys that come in on passing downs and just blow stuff up. Perfectly fine with that. Linebacking crew stays in place. No additions at off-ball or on the edge, which I'm fine. I mean, the Vikings definitely went hard in the paint on the edge in free agency with Van Ginkel, Grenard, and Ward. Off ball, I mean, it would have been nice to add one to supplement the loss of Troy Dye, but you did bring in Kamu as well as hopefully Asamoah can step up and be healthy this season. Defensively, so I love Jarvis Brownlee, where they project him on the outside, except I think he's going to be, they project him on the inside just because of his height, but I think that he's going to be on the outside. He's just so damn feisty. I love his mentality. I think that he's a dog. I think that he's going to sync up well with what Flores wants to do. I think he was a great value at the back end of the 4th round. And then Malik Mustafa, I think that he will indeed rise up the depth chart at safety as well. So I really like what's going on in that regard. But that's it. That's at. Take a look at the Vikings BPA mock draft. It's good times, man. You guys know what to do. Skull production value.